Life Fight with Jermaine Andre is a positive production of Rare Gem Productions. For previous episodes or to get new episode updates, subscribe to the Life Fight channel hosted on the Inspiration Network of OneRareGem.com. That's OneRaregem.com for the tools you need to take on your life fight. With U.S. Martial Arts Hall of Famer, two-time world champion, five-time U.S. champion, UFC vet, life coach, and author, Jermaine Andre. Visit JermaineAndre.com.
What's happening, everybody? Jermaine Andre here with Jermaine Andre's Life Fight. And today I got a real good treat for you because, first off, I don't bring guests in too much because I ain't done talking yet. Like I said, I gotta download all this crap I'd had built up in my head for like 20 years, before I start bringing guests on, or else they might not even be able to get a word in. So I went against my own rules, and I had to, because I had two fellas make a historical move. I don't know how many of you know, but Cuba has not liked the U.S., hasn't liked the U.S. for a long time, and they finally just opened up the U.S. where we can come in and visit. And right at that moment when they opened up the U.S. so we can come in and visit, we decided to go over there and start a fight. So I got in here with me my two warriors, then two soldiers that went over there. Now, and look at it, we were so worried sending them over there, knowing that Cuba's going to throw the best that they got at them. And I even taught them how to pack survival bags and everything just in case you didn't know what was going to happen over there. I said, look, guys, your biggest fight might not be just a fight in the ring or in the cage. You don't know what's going to go on over there. Y'all the first Americans come over there. And, they sat in my office and said, whatever, sir, whatever we got to do. And that's real warriorship right there. It's not just about the glory of the fight and just about going over there and just getting the win. That's some guys that saying, that's the American way. We don't care what might happen. We're going to do what we're supposed to do. That's freedom. That's standing for freedom. So I got sitting here with me. I got Brendan Raymer, champion, national champion, just a many-time champion, and Drew Gigax, for the four-time Midwest champion, national champion twice. I can't even say how many times. I can't even remember how many times these guys then took it and went out there and just willing to take any fight that they could. So say hi to everybody.
How y'all doing?
What's good? How's it going, everybody?
All right. Well, look, we're going to go as we get into the show. We're going to cover, I'm going to let them have the mic. I'm going to sit back and maybe crack a few jokes and let them have the mic and tell of their experience with the fight. And then just with the things that happened over there, some stuff that, you don't know about. I mean, this is a historical moment of an American putting foot on that soil over there. You know what I'm saying? And they're going over to start a fight. But before we go into that, I want to go over something that I posted on Facebook this morning. Y'all know I like posting those hard thoughts. And I said what's something that you won't do to fit in with your social status? Because we all know every day, I'm always big on that about being true to yourself. But we all know this too, that being true to yourself can cost you your job, and it probably cost you your life if you ain't careful. It can cost you your friends. It can even cost you your family. So a lot of times we have to walk around and be fake, but you always still got to think and be real with yourself, or else you'll get lost in that world. Next thing you know, you everybody's puppet. You're everybody's clown, just doing what you have, doing what you're supposed to do to fit in, and you lose touch with who you are. Then next thing you know, you lose your soul. So I always like to put that hard stuff out there that I don't get a lot of likes on. I don't get a lot of responses on. But I said, what's something that you won't do to fit into your social status? So y'all want to answer? Y'all want me to answer first?
You answer first, please.
I will not wear pink. There. I know for breast cancer awareness, all that kind of stuff. They force like kids to wear pink and football teams, soccer teams. And I even have a little, a kid with Rebecca's actually nephew. And he's really upset about that because his football team uniform has pink in it for breast cancer awareness. Personally, I won't wear pink. I'll wear a shirt to say I support breast cancer awareness. You know what I'm saying? Gotcha. And I'll make up a man's color for it. But as a man, I'm not wearing pink.
Could you repeat the question again?
It said, what won't you do to fit into your social status?
The social status.
Yeah.
Well, the trends of, the slang terminology that goes on nowadays, I don't feel that stuff at all.
Oh, yeah? Well, it's hard to keep up with, for one.
I'm not into it. It pops up every day. A new word pops up. That's something I don't get into.
Oh, right on. And
I'm old school, too.
And how old are you?
I'm 22.
See, you're a young cat in the old school.
I grew up with under my pops and my grandpa, and I spent a lot of time around them. So,
yeah, and that's
old school. I'm old school with it.
Right on.
Right.
What about you?
I'll have to piggyback off of both of you and say, I'm not one to force myself into accepting, everything that's around me. Everyone's trying to force, their rights on you and, how they feel about certain situations. And, they expect you to come back and just say, oh, yeah, you're right. I'm tolerable. But, as me raised by my parents as well, I think that, I'm raised with a certain set of morals and things that, make me who I am. And I believe that I shouldn't have somebody else force their, opinion down my throat to say that I should just be accepting and, and generous to everything that comes my way of, other people's rights. So I believe that it's right to, have your own, know yourself, have your own set of morals and standards that you believe in, and not push it on anybody if you have to, but stick by it.
Think your own thoughts, feel your own feelings.
Exactly.
Yeah. I always say that. I say, everybody's, as long as you're not out there hurting other people, whatever works for you is good. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. If I got this guy and he's a Muslim and he's Jewish and he's Christian and we all getting along and everybody doing what, I don't want you to change what you are.
Right.
Be what you are. That works for you. You know what I'm saying? When you start trying to get people to go against their own morality, because I fear this, if he's solid on that and you get him to go against it, then he probably gonna go against that too. And, so yeah, definitely you got to have that keeps your core,
right.
And then that's the thing too. And people will learn to respect you. They might not like it for a little while, but they're going to learn to respect you for who and what you definitely. Are. Like I am with not wearing pink. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I ain't wearing it, man. And I know if I'd put some pink tie trunks on and a pink bow in my hair, I'd have been the most popular tie fighter in the world.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? They'd have loved that.
Definitely.
But I was good with that. I had black shorts, and I just did my thing.
Stay true to yourself.
Yeah. All right. So moving along, let's talk about this trip to Cuba. Who want to go first? I'm gonna grab my water bottle. I'm gonna drink water while y'all talk.
I got all kinds of stories. I'll talk for 6 hours. Yeah.
Man. All right. Well, if I have to cut one of you off so the other one can get something in, then y'all just gonna have to handle that.
All right, man. Yeah. I'll start. Okay. So, start from the beginning. We've had, past experiences with the organization that took us over there. They weren't the best, but they were tolerable. And, so let's just go ahead and start. We went to Florida. First of all, we all met there to leave from there to Cuba. And, we walk into this hotel. It's called the La Quinta, and, it's nice. It's got, 2 bedrooms. There's water, pressure's good, English, TV channels, all kinds of stuff, that's all we know. So me and Brent are like, oh man, this place is kind of whack. We don't really like this place. There's only 5 channels with crappy TV shows on, the bathroom's tiny, all this stuff. So we get to Cuba, our first day there, and we walk into this hotel, the San Alejandro.
Yeah, I'll never forget that name.
San Alejandro Hotel. So we get here, we walk into our room and we got pictures of this place. Our TV, it's about a 19-inch tube TV with 5 channels on it. 4 of them are all Spanish. And the only English channel, you got to smack it like 4 times the TV for it to even show up clear. And so not a big deal because, we're not real big TV watchers and we're down there for another reason. But, our beds, basically box spring beds with a sheet over it. Our pillows are stuffed of God knows what. Who knows?
My blanket was a curtain
off the wall.
Hangs over the window.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
You turn our bathroom.
Go ahead, keep talking, bro.
You turn the water pressure on, and it's so weak that it's literally dripping out. And we have our sink on full blast, and we're trying to wash our hands. It takes you like 20 minutes to wash your hands just because the water pressure's so bad.
And it was either steaming hot or blistering cold. It was
there's no in between.
Water. It was blistering hot or cold.
And that, our shower's the same way. It comes with one of those extensions you pull off to bathe yourself. And the water pressure is so bad in that we turn on full blast and it would trickle down the side. The only way you could get the water to come out off of the handle is if you flip it on its side so it can drain straight down because of gravity. It was terrible. So
you had to use gravity to get pressure.
Literally, yeah. I was kneeling down, putting the thing above me just to get the water to come on me. So, So in saying all that, we're talking about how crappy the La Quinta Hotel is in Florida, but man, that was the 5-star, place for us coming back.
San Alejandro in Cuba was a 5-star to them.
To them, yeah, and that's to us. That's a 1-star. It's crazy. So, but
we don't even allow 1-star hotels,
right? That's like States. It was like a Super 8 motel. But I'm appreciative that we were in that hotel because we were in, we were in Havana, Cuba, and everything around us was, it was definitely a third world country. So we were appreciative because we got to be a part of the country and its culture. For, the 6 days that we were there, we actually got to experience what Cuba was like.
Like what he said, man, I'm glad myself, all of us, Team USA, got to see that for what it was, for Cuba for what it was, man, because, next few years, it's not going to be like that. I don't think, USA going there and You know, you're going to see McDonald's.
Yeah, we're going to Americanize
it. I could already see it there when we were there that it was already getting Americanized. And I was like, damn. I remember I took a moment to myself. I'm like, damn, I'm glad I could see this for what it is.
Now, I want to try and go quick through this because I know everybody want to hear about the fights.
Right.
And I do too because I got to see you guys.
Yeah.
When you're saying, you know, we get ready to come in and Americanize, and I know we had talked and you talking about how poor it was over there.
Very poor.
But what was the manner like? The people, now these are people who they don't even have an idea. Like you said, you got 5 TV stations and they're not showing mansions and, you know,
soccer.
Beverly Hills
and soccer.
And, you know, and was it the stupid housewives that's jealous? I mean, all that crap. They ain't showing all this rich, corrupt crap. So these people don't get to see that. So to them, this is it.
Yeah. I mean, I have 2 words. I mean, for Cuba, just for the whole trip, it was real life. To me, it was just real life.
Right on.
Those people, the people down there. I mean, when I say, I put a Facebook picture up, I said this place was beautiful. And I got a lot of feedback, like negative feedback on it, like, oh, it looks like a nasty place. I'm like, that's not what I meant by that. I meant by the people, the culture. These people are beautiful, beautiful people. They care for each other. They care for their neighbor. I mean, yeah, it's just beautiful people. I mean, they care for one another. It wasn't no one was violent. There's no crime. There's barely any crime. Yeah, I mean, I got that from everybody. There's no police officers running around. I mean, people told me before you go to Cuba, there'll be people, soldiers with carrying around guns. There was none of that, man. None of that. Everybody's just running around, smiling, having conversations with one another, being human beings.
Wasn't hating on each other.
Wasn't afraid of each other.
Right.
It was
going off that. I realized there's a saying that, you know, all of us know, and it's, you know, the most poorest person in America, you know, is the richest person in another country. Right. And I never believe that because I always think, you know, I'm seeing some pretty poor areas in America. You know, just in St. Louis, I've seen some pretty bad areas.
Right.
But man, going over there and living that life for a week, it's true. The poorest person over here is the richest person over there. We have so much in this country. Being, you know, 21, I take everything for granted because, you know, I'm still living life, still learning everything. And I see that going over there, man, it's a whole nother world. Literally, it's just completely different. So it's definitely something to cherish to see how much you have here.
It's definitely not what you hear about on TV about how bad Cuba is. No, that's false. It's a great place.
Yeah, like most of you know, I split my toe in the fight, had to go to the hospital to get stitches in between my toes. I got 5 stitches. You know, coming back, I had people that can't even speak English, you know, walking up to me, strangers, getting off a bus. I had 2 strangers carrying me off the bus. Anytime I want to go sit down on a couch, I have 2 random people that can't even speak any English to me, coming over me, putting their arm or putting my arm over their shoulder and just helping me sit down. I come down every morning. I have random people, you know, coming up to me, just pointing at my foot, giving me a thumbs up, asking me if I'm all right. You know, and that's something you don't get here. The people down there, since there's nothing, everyone down there is so poor that they don't have to, you know, steal from each other or, you know, act like they have something more, you know, or be, you know, how do you say, or you just don't have entitlements down there because everybody has nothing. So the only thing they care about is each other.
What you don't have there is greed.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because like, you know, I always tell people, I say, you know, a lot of like, you can look at like a place where somebody lives in a 1-bedroom apartment and they hate that apartment. And like, but I hate it here. And it's like you say, you can bring some people from Cuba. They have 5-10 people living there, and that'd be a mansion to them.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? But you have people who are rich in America that, you know, like you always see this, you see these rich kids in the suburbs, you know, who live in $500,000 homes, $1 million homes. Then they go into the hood, hanging out with people living. Their parents like, what in the heck is that? You know what I'm saying? But it's an old ancient saying that says that the true spirit can only be found in poverty. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And when people, one of the problems that happens and one of the problems I think we as Americans get is we see all this that we want. And even when we get that Cadillac, now we want a Ferrari. When we get that Ferrari, now we want a Bentley. You know what I'm saying? And then you start hanging around people that got more than you and you see what they got. And then it makes it look like what you got ain't nothing. You're like, man, I hate this Ferrari. Yep. Man, that ain't nothing compared to his car. His car was custom made for him. You know, I want that or he got a jet. You know, I want a jet like he's got, you know, so it just keeps that. And that's what that is, that greed. And I think that's where with Cuba, not even letting them see that, you know, that does that, which of course, me as an American, I love America. I love our country. I love that you can be the brokest dude in the world and you can do one or two things. You can be smart and get rich, or you can bust your ass and get rich. Like I said, and my dad's one of the people I really look up to. He comes from North City, St. Louis, man. He's a short guy. You know, he was a little boxer, you know what I'm saying? And every day he got up, he carried a pistol to school because he thought he was going to have to kill somebody just to stay alive. And he finally dropped out of school because he didn't want to have to kill somebody. That's why he dropped out, because every day he walked out, you know, shorty, this and that, people mess with him. Man. He wasn't no punk, you know.
Right.
And eventually somebody's going to challenge that. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So he ended up dropping out of school, and he ended up trying to work and didn't until he was, I think, probably about 40 years old, got him a job as a janitor. And worked his butt off, and now he living in a $300,000 home to St. Peter's. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
But that's America. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's good that we can work up, but I think sometimes we get lost. Yeah. You know, we get lost and we don't stop and appreciate what we got. You know, and say today, you know, man, it's nice that I got this. Yes. It's nice that, you know, like you're saying, I know you tell me about the food. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to let you talk about that in a minute. Yeah. You know, just the fact that we can have a decent meal. You know, and of course, McDonald's ain't good for you. You know, Burger King good for you. Some of the restaurant food ain't. But the fact that you can have somebody prepare a meal for you for a couple of slips of paper. You know what I'm saying? We can be in a rush right now. Man, I got to get back to the academy, y'all. And I got to go clean up because everybody getting sick in this. And I can stop somewhere and say, let me have this and that and that. Here you are, sir. Thanks. Boom. And I got a meal, you know what I'm saying? And I'm gone. And we, you know, take advantage of that, you know, because we just want more. Because I'm mad because I don't have a chef at the school cooking for me. You know what I'm saying?
Touching on that, one thing I learned about like just that in life, appreciate things is balance.
Yeah, definitely.
It's balance. Like if you constantly eat McDonald's, eat bad food, junk food, you get tired of that. You get tired of it real quick, but you eat healthy for 2-3 weeks.
It's a treat.
You beg for McDonald's, right?
Man, oh my. You see, put that eye in front of me.
Yep.
Oh my. I think I'm on heaven. I'm in heaven right now.
Yeah.
But the food in Cuba, man, well, chicken and rice.
Chicken and rice.
Chicken and rice. You can't go wrong with that chicken and rice. But I mean, yeah, there was times, you know, there was only a couple places we had an opportunity to go. Like there wasn't a McDonald's in every corner. It was
piggybacking off that real quick though. You know, it's funny. We wake up here in America every day. Oh, what do you want to eat? Oh, let's go to Dairy Queen. Oh, let's go to Wendy's. Oh, let's go to Arby's. You know, anything. Everything's around the corner for us. And all you have to do is exchange, you know, money, like we say. In Cuba, Brennan and I, we woke up literally every day asking.
What was that restaurant?
Waka Waka. We woke up every single day asking each other, dude, what are we going to eat today? Where are we going to eat? Like, because we did not know because we didn't have anything around us.
Choosing, making a choice, but you didn't know.
Yeah, we literally.
That was a real question.
And like neither of us.
No grocery stores.
Right. Like I've broken Spanish, you know, Brennan speaks. No. Yeah, none. But, you know, and so for us to go somewhere and try to talk to somebody to ask for food, you know, especially with a different currency, you don't know the exchange rate and you don't know anything. So we woke up every day doing like, dude, what are we going to eat today? Like, where are we going to eat? And so because of that, we would literally walk down the streets. It could be raining. And we're walking out in the streets. Usually it was rain. Yeah. And we're walking down the streets with everybody else getting poured on, trying to find something to eat somewhere. And it's weird because they don't have normal business hours like we do here. Places there are open 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. or they'll open up at 5 p.m. and be done by 11 p.m. So the times are so different there that we had to, you know, rearrange our sleep schedule so that we could eat.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, those times I'd stay up all night until breakfast open. 7 a.m. because that's the only free thing we got at the hotel. I just eat a huge breakfast, then go back to sleep, wake up about 4 p.m., 5 p.m., and then go about my day.
Yeah, it's definitely different.
Yeah, man.
So tell me about I know you talking about your weight. Because a lot of listeners, in case you don't know, you know, us as fighters, our weight is a really, 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 you know, intricate part of fighting because, you know, you got to make a certain weight to fight. We usually try to cut ourselves as low as we can. But we got to be careful not to dehydrate, malnourish ourselves, you know, you'll be tired in a fight, you know, and then sometimes just traveling can change your weight. You can end up showing up somewhere and you're heavier than you were, you know, because your body picked up a lot of weight on the plane, stuff like that, you know, or you lost a lot of weight. You can get sick on the plane. Anything like that can happen. But I know you telling me something about y'all, the weight fluctuation, the way you were feeling tired, you had drinking water. What was going on?
Tell me about yours and I'll go.
Okay. Well, when we got to Lauderdale on Tuesday, the day before, Chip Post came up to me and said, I got good news and bad news. The good news.
Whenever somebody say that, I say, ain't no such thing.
Yeah.
One outweighs the other. You know what I'm saying? Either it's bad news or it's good news.
Well, to me being a fighter, you know, I'll fight anybody, any weight.
Right.
You know, he said, I got good news, bad news. And he's like, the good news is, you know, you can eat, you know, you can fight. The bad news is you're fighting at 147. I'm like, that's not no bad news to me. I can eat now. That's a blessing. What you talking about?
You can throw down, huh?
But anyway, yeah, we, you know, come to weigh-in time. I weighed in at 45 and a half, and my opponent came in. I didn't even know about it. I wasn't looking at the scale at the time, and he weighed in at about, I want to say 156 and a half.
So, listeners, real quick, when Brandon's trying to bring himself up in weight, because you had to bring yourself up, then he had to bring himself up in weight. That's hard. So when he weighed 147, that's the most he can get.
I didn't even weigh 147. I made 145 and a half. 145
and a half. That's the most he can get. So, and your opponent weighed what?
156 and a half.
So he weighed 156. That means he cut down to 156 and a half. So what happens when you eat and the next day of the fight, you put on probably about 10 pounds. Yep. And not Brendan, because he already went up and put on 10 pounds to make weight class.
Day of fight, I was probably, to be honest with you, I was probably 49, 50.
Yeah. So he was probably 160 something. Yeah. Day of the fight.
Yeah.
All right. So you got a guy about 20, 30 pounds.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, skills pay the bills.
There you go.
Pay the bills.
Yep. Sure enough.
Yep.
And then, because even in the fight, we're going to get to that, but he came at you hard with body weight, muscle.
He was trying to muscle me around.
They picked the right guy to come after you.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. You have something on it?
Yeah, I know. So in Florida, actually, I'll skip to Cuba. I arrived in Cuba weighing 178, and my weight class was 176. So I was cool. I was chilling. But by the end of that first day that we were in Cuba, I weighed 172. Just from all the heat and walking everywhere and just constantly, moving around and just the humidity in general. I was 172. So, I'm eating everything I can, drinking everything I can, all the water and stuff. And we have a morning workout the day before weigh-ins. And, so I'm about 176, my fight weight that I have to be at. We do the morning workout the day before weigh-ins. I'm down to 171. I was like, what's going on? So I'm eating and drinking everything I can at weigh-ins and before weigh-ins, and I weighed 172 for my fight. And it's just so different down there. And so thinking that, I'm thinking, man, my dude's got to cut down in this heat because he's so used to it. So who knows what he'll weigh the day of the fight, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't know this either until after the fight. Chip Post told me. He came up to me after. But the guy that I fought, I was supposed to fight at 80 kilograms, which is 176. My guy weighed in at 86 kilograms, which is 189.
Oh.
So from 186 to 189 is just, 13 pounds. It's a big difference.
No, but then again, he cut down to 189.
He cut.
Fight day, he was, when I looked at him, he's about 200.
Yeah, he was a big boy, but so, and it's funny because I talked to Chip after the fight later that night and he was like, I really respect you and Brittany. He's like, this isn't the first time that I've, unintentionally done this to you. You guys fight, bigger opponents and you guys don't complain. You just go out there and do it. And I believe that even if he would have told us, it wouldn't have made a difference because we come from a gym that, you fight whoever's in front of you. Our job is there to fight. And so that's what we do. And if any of you guys know me and Brendan well, we don't cut weight for fights. You hear fighters dropping 20, 30 pounds the day before a fight just so they can make it a lower weight class so they have a better advantage. We walk around 5 pounds above our weight class and, we'll fight, whoever, and wherever.
That's
so.
Right. And that's keeping it fair. Me personally, right. That's what I know. I posted on my Facebook, a fighter just died cutting weight, Chinese fighter. And that's because I said that's, it's so unfair. These guys who are trying to cut 20 pounds down, dying, stepping on the scale, halfway dead, then get off. And you're not that weight class when you're fighting. Fight fair, and stay healthy. Don't destroy your body. And like I always say, it's just like when I'm training y'all, you close to, sometimes you're below your weight class. You know what I'm saying? Yep. But that's who you're going to be. That's what's going to show up in the ring. But if I'm trying, I know we've had guys, that were at the gym and they'd be in there and they'd be 20, 30 pounds heavy all the way up to then trying 2 weeks before the fight, cut 20,000. And I tell them, I said, dude, I'm not going to train you. You can't do that, man. For one, you're going to kill yourself trying to cut weight. For two, I'm training 100, a guy that's 30 pounds heavier. That you don't have the same speed, you don't punch the same, you don't move the same. So I can't show you anything. Then you go in there and lose and you're saying, oh, I'm not getting the right trainer. You sure ain't. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't have the right, thing to work with here. Right. So that's always good, the way to do it. And that's, like I said, that's that warrior mentality. We're going to move into the fight, but just so you know, listeners, because I know a lot of times, you just get to see the glory of the game. And if you watch their fights, you can go to both of their Facebook pages on there. It's on my Facebook page, and you see how good they're doing. You still have to consider everything they had to go through up to the fight. Going through not knowing if they were going to eat, not knowing where to eat, their meals being thrown off, the time that you eat. Just think about right now, I want you to stop, don't eat lunch today, don't eat dinner today. And then at, 9 o'clock tonight, eat lunch. And then at 1 o'clock in the morning, eat dinner. And then at 6 in the afternoon, evening in the morning, eat breakfast, and watch what that does to your body. You know what I'm saying? And that's what y'all dealing with. Plus the fact of being somewhere where okay, is something going to happen here? Being nervous and a little bit afraid where you at. Then dealing with the weight loss problem. Like Drew was saying, I'm 170.
I lost weight too.
Yeah, and the weight dropping and wondering, wait a minute, am I malnourished? Am I dehydrated? Is something wrong? Am I sick? So dealing with all those kind of issues, then coming in and you got an opponent who's 20, 30 pounds heavier than you, and still saying, let's go.
Let's get it.
That's the most important thing is that warrior mentality. And that's being true champions. And like I said, I know we deal with that. We talk about that all the time. You got all these paper champions out there. People just, they just put any stamp just so they can promote somebody, put them on a poster. But I always say, to be a world champion, you got to fight in the world. Yep. You got to go where you're getting set up and you're getting set to lose. And you're dealing with issues, dealing with different cultures, the kind of stuff y'all dealt with, and you still go in there and fight. And that's a real champion, win or lose. And y'all won, So I watched both of y'all fight. And like I said, listeners, just so y'all understand, I don't watch fights for fun. No. You know what I'm saying? I love training martial artists. Right. I don't like training fighters. I love training martial artists to fight, because I'm more concerned about your life and what's going to happen with your life than just what's happening with the fight. There's a lot of fighters out there that do good in the ring in the cage and then they beat their girlfriend up and end up in prison for the rest of their life, right. So I'm more concerned with making you good people because you may turn out to be the next world champion. You may turn out to be the next president, you know what I'm saying? Or the next heart surgeon. And then you sitting up dead tired about to make that cut. You're like, man, I can't do it. I'm too tired. And your discipline kick in. You say, man, I remember when Jermaine used to knock me in my head and I had to hold, you make that cut proper. So I'm always just taking into consideration your life. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, but moving into the fight, and I'm going to let y'all go ahead and cover that. When I watched it, I gave myself time where I could sit back and watch it. And I always watch my fighters unbiased, like you ain't my guy. Yeah. And I, clicked it on. Like I said, I watched George first Raymond and he came out attacking. Like I said, they picked the right guy to try and take you out. And you adjusted with him. And I even said that first round, you see, I put on there real good job of not trying to fight his game. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you didn't get nervous. You stayed calm, but you still checked him. You know what I'm saying? You still kept him in check and slapped him around a little bit, but stayed out of his way. I know you got all that muscle and that energy. You trying to expose it. Go ahead. Go on that way. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You covered good. You didn't let it get you excited. You didn't try to match him. Mm-hmm. And I said, man, that was a perfect. You know what I'm saying? Then, of course, Drew, I watched yours, and the first round you came out and firing them kicks from the ground. That dude couldn't move. Right. And you knew that, okay, you want to be heavier than me? Try and move out the way it is. You know what I'm saying? And so it was good because what I saw y'all both doing was thinking, figuring it out on your own. And that was so important. I always tell everybody, people used to ask me, well, how you plan on beating this guy? I said, I don't know. He's going to tell me. Yep. Right. And I saw both of y'all do that how can I beat you? Go ahead and do what you want to do. And I'm going to figure it out. But while you trying to figure out what you want to do, I'm going to do some things to keep messing you up. So that was real good. But
Well, going off that real quick, just before we start about the whole day of the fight, like you saying, when somebody asks, well, how are you going to beat him? You honestly don't know. And, after our fights, we had a couple critics come up to us and say, well, you need to do this. You need to learn this. Yeah, you need to throw a side kick. You need to learn how to box. They say all these different things. And, me and Brendan were talking and we were telling each other, like, we didn't throw those things because the fight didn't call for it.
Exactly. Save your weapons.
and what's the name of coach I respected a lot down there? You may know him, Jermaine.
Pete
Sugarfoot Cunningham.
Yeah, Pete.
We had a lot of respect for him because he had a lot of knowledge about the game. I mean, he was a fighter,
right?
But he was someone I listened to a lot, and he was right down there. Things he was telling me were working right against that opponent. So, yeah, shout out to him though as well.
Right on.
Yeah, very interesting.
Well, yeah, and that's what I always tell y'all that if you. Just like me when I fought, I didn't use a lot of grappling. People thought I couldn't grapple, but Russian Sambo, the Russians trained me personally for that. And like we said, y'all got a lot of weapons, and I seen y'all throw a few of them out there. Mm-hmm. And I was watching, I was like, I see you using that. I said, I saw him use that, but you didn't use them all. Yeah, I see you use some of them, but not all of them. And it was moments where you could, but what was working was working. Mm-hmm. So if the Colt 45 and the 12 gauge working, why don't I bring out the M4? Yeah. Just so now they know I got an M4. Yeah. I'm going to hide the M4 and make you think that. So let's think about your career, than just one fight. Definitely. Yeah. So anyway, y'all want to talk about the fight? What you was thinking?
I was actually wanted to go back to something we didn't touch on about the life part about Cuba. We didn't touch on they only get a certain amount of food portion every month.
Yep.
They only get about 6-7 ounces of rice a month. Only I don't know the exact amounts, but only so much chicken, only so much beef, only so much coffee. The big coffee drinkers down there.
One bun a day. They only get so much of this, and they have to make this last a whole month. And on top of that, the government owns everything. So you work for the government 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, and you only get 10 to maybe 15 pesos a month. Right. And that's all you got to work with.
Yes, you stuck in that. Like I said, there is no coming out of that lifestyle.
Yeah, there's no room for advancement.
Yeah. Unless you want to try to flee to Mexico, you get to Miami, but good luck.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck fighting that current.
And they said they got people at the border ready.
Yeah, so.
And that's kind of stuff, like you say, that I'm glad you remembered that, because we had talked about that I want us as Americans, we got this real big problem in America, and I don't want to make the podcast all about that, where everybody don't appreciate America. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And America's been through a lot. All of our forefathers have fought and died and killed each other. And, and you got this issue with the police and, the community. And, it's just, and everybody is just so against what America stands for. Yeah. And if everybody can get back to remember what America stands for and not thinking that, okay, this dirty cop is America. He ain't America. That ain't what America stands for. Or this thug, who's running around robbing people is America. Right. That ain't what America stands for. These are people that's doing it wrong. But looking at something simple like that, if we were told by, if somebody came knock on our door, the police say, look, all you get is this chicken and this rice, and that's all you get a month. You can't do it. We'll pick our guns up, man. America would go crazy. You know what I'm saying? So just appreciating something like that you get to choose what you're going to eat today. And these people don't. And like you say, and the fact that they have to work where they tell them to work, and you getting this and that's all you get, and that's kind of stuff that we put at risk when we sit here and, and we just being greedy, we being unappreciative of what we have. Yeah. We're going to end up back in a situation like that, right. Which we've been fighting the longest to get out of, because everybody else that is communist like that, that's telling people what to do, is watching us tear ourselves apart. Right. And they gathering, they coming in, they coming around, and they say they hate each other. I mean, we ain't got to fight the police because the citizens going to do it for us. Exactly. We ain't got to fight the citizens because the police going to do it for us. They're going to kill all them off. So let's just sit back and keep agitating. And that's what can happen. But if we focus on things like that, the old school reality of, that there's people, like you say, in other countries that, man, if you lived over there, had it like that, these people can't advance. It can't get no better. We can better our lives, like I say.
And you don't see them killing each other.
Yeah.
Right.
They're friendly to each other. They hug each other. They love each other. When I seen that, man, it opened my eyes. I mean.
Yeah, everybody cares about their neighbors.
They care about each other, man. Like, no hating, not hating on the next person. It's open arms to the next person, not punching them, punching them in the face.
Yeah, we had people at the hotel asking us, when are you going to come back?
When are you going to come back? Giving us hugs. I had one dude give me 3 hugs before I left.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll be back, man. I'll try.
And dude, we can't even tell you their names.
Can't even tell you their names.
But that doesn't matter. It's crazy.
Like, man, it was the spirit that was there.
That meant the most to me. That's what I took the most out the trip, Of course, it's not, if you're there for the sightseeing and, it's not that pretty.
It's nothing fancy.
It's nothing fancy.
Yeah, the sight's nothing fancy. It's an experience.
But
it ain't Vegas.
I loved it for what it was.
Right.
Even though it was, run down. I mean, I appreciate those things. I appreciate the simple things about it.
Yeah, you appreciate what it brings to the table.
What it brings. And that's what I loved about it. And of course, the people as well. People are very authentic, genuine people.
Right on. All right, so get into the fight.
Day of the fight.
The fight.
Okay, so
locker room.
Okay. So we'll start before that. Day of the fight here in America, I like to sleep in. Wake up, do my own thing. Not having to worry about food here in America. But me and Brennan, we woke up 9:30. Breakfast is 7 to 9. We missed it.
Oh.
So we're like, oh great. What are we gonna eat? So next thing you know, me and Brennan were like, all right, man, let's walk to Waka Waka, which is our favorite place to eat. We ate there. We probably ate there 3-4 times, and all we ate was chicken and rice because that's all we knew. And so we walk in the rain, cold. It's kind of cold. It's in the rain. We're walking. We walk probably about a mile to this place. It's closed. So
Waka Waka was closed.
Waka Waka. So we walk down the street.
They have the weird hours.
We walk down the street to a gas station. It's closed. We walk to this little market and we're like, finally we found something that's open. But we walk in and all they have is like canned foods that we don't eat here. And like their turkey, deli meat turkey. It looked like slimy bologna. So like, man, I'm not touching that, man. It's the day of the fight. Who knows?
There's no microwave.
So what did we get? We got a pack of 6 hamburger buns.
That's all we ate.
For 60 pesos, which is like 6 cents to us.
6 cents.
So we bought that. And we walked back down the street to our hotel. We're like, man, dude, we're just going to have to stock up on bread. And so we probably ate 2-3 rolls each. And we went to this little convenience store in our hotel, and they don't have anything. So I got like a Twix bar. I don't know.
I got M&Ms.
M&Ms. So we had 2 buns and a Twix bar and some M&Ms for breakfast. And a little bit of water. So we get to the fight. And, or we get to the arena where we're fighting. It's a pretty nice arena, really big. Nice. And, they stick us in our warm up room, which if you can't see me, I'm putting, little quotations up. And, it smells like death in there. It smells like 7 porta potties that people just destroyed and just left it there for us. So any deep breath you take,
that's not a way to warm up.
Any deep breath you take, you feel like you're tasting whatever was in there last.
And on top of that, it was hot as hell.
It was so hot.
But thanks to Brendan, I went to the guy.
Paid him off.
And paid him to give me 3 fans.
Yeah.
$3, man.
Right on.
Bring me some fans.
I'm brought some American capitalism into hold up, I can fix this. Hey, I got money.
Man, put them all up.
Give me what I want. Right on.
I'm looking around trying to open a window, but, fortunately for us, all the windows were broken. So we could get air through that. But it was so humid. So we're all so hot that we changed into our shorts right away. We all got our shirts off. We're all sweating bullets. And I know you guys have heard of them liter water bottles.
Yeah.
I drank 2 of those. Well, not those, but like I drank 2 water bottles worth that size. Just like so much water before the fight. My pants.
Real quick question: the water, where's it come? Go finish your.
Well, we were drinking purified water in water bottles because that's the only thing we drank. Because down there they said not to drink it, but
they said not even drink the ice.
Yeah, no ice either. Because so I drank 2 large water bottles before the fight. In the locker room, I'm warming up because I'm so drenched. My pants are drenched already. I'm sweating. I'm starving because we didn't fight till like 3 or 4. I'm starving. Brendan's starving. So we're all just chugging water. But, that's as far as warming up for the fight. And we didn't have any coaches to warm us up because our only 2 coaches were up there cornering the fights. So we had to warm each other up. So, fighters are holding pads for each other.
He bad hit.
Yeah, he was on crutches.
He was on crutches, so he couldn't warm up.
So us fighters are warming each other up, kicking each other's arms, holding pads for each other, wearing each other out, which for those that don't fight, fighters don't warm fighters up.
Right.
Because you'll wear out your
burn
arms.
all your calories for one. And then you taking damage.
Exactly.
So we were doing a lot of shadow boxing. I was high kneeing and just running back and forth, getting the warm up. So we really didn't even have a proper warm up.
The fans were a blessing, though. A blessing.
Oh yeah, definitely. Gave him $3, baby.
Weird. We looked like, there was moments when we looked like cows surrounded by food because we're all surrounded by this fan, just trying to wait for it to turn back around to us, just we get a glimpse of cool air. And so that was crazy.
Yeah, that's serious there.
And then, but the fights were. It was.
Talk about your fight first, yeah.
My fight, me individually, going back, like when someone asks you if you have a plan. When you have a fight, I don't watch tape. I never watch tape of a fighter. I just go in there and whatever happens, it happens. I just go in there and fight on how the fight's playing out. And when people ask me, like, why don't you watch fights? I tell them, well, the fighter that I watch, that's not going to be the same fighter when I fight him.
Yeah.
He could be 10 times better. He could throw 10 different techniques I've never seen before. So, for that reason that's the reason why I don't watch fights. But how my fight went, like you said, I just went against his aggression. I knew he was going to come out hot like that. And I trained against fighters. Daryl Cobb coming at me like that all day.
all day.
I've learned to fight going backwards. And that's basically how that fight went, just played his aggression against him and just picked him apart, got him tired. And
he ever catch you with anything that got you nervous?
No. He caught me.
I didn't see anything land that I got worried about.
He caught me one time around the ear, but that was it. He had some heat though.
He was throwing, but you was well protected.
I was catching him, but I could feel the heat behind his punches. And first time fighting with 8-ounce boxing gloves too, which was very interesting.
Oh, you had 8 ounces?
8 ounces.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I could feel my knuckles going through,
through
the gloves.
That's nice.
It was nice. Yeah. So experiencing that for the first time was cool. But besides that, the fight. Actually, I felt real good during the fight. Just need to get my endurance.
Yeah, it's the thing, for what y'all went through, with the food and, just being overheated before a fight, and drained because you went in there drained.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell. Like I said, when I watched both of y'all fight, y'all both had grown. Like in the fight, you came out attacking good. And at the last round, neither one of y'all looked tired. Like I didn't look for 1 second and think, man, Brendan's tired.
It didn't look, man. Yeah. I felt like if I had that just a little bit more explosion, just a few more explosions, I could have taken him out. I could have taken him out. I mean, you could tell I had my timing. My timing was down. Everything he came out, boom, touch. I knew when he was going to attack me. Yeah. I had my timing down like that. But if I just had a little bit more pop on my shots, I would have took him out, because that was the only thing I took out of it. Was just
you learned him in that first round. Well, and that's something, like I said, we're gonna talk about is your weight class.
Yeah,
we might want to thicken you up, because even Brian and I have been talking about that, about just where you bouncing at. Yeah, and if we put more weight on you, muscle, it's gonna give you that pop.
That's what I want.
So we're gonna go over all that. But what about you, Drew? And everybody, just so you know, ladies, Drew's voice is not that sexy. He's a little sick. So I know he sounds like who was it, like Luther Vandross or something, right now. All the ladies like, I want to meet Drew. He gonna have all the likes on his Facebook page, not on ours, because of his voice.
Right. It's not like
we got to give him his own podcast. Welcome is Early Morning Late Nights with Drew, Gig X.
Listen in. No. Okay. So with my fight, one thing Brendan didn't mention was, so when you're on deck, the person that fights before you's fighting, when you're on deck, you're standing in the hallway next to your opponent.
Yeah, I remember.
And you guys are just staring at each other. Yeah. I mean, I'm my guy every now and then.
It's like putting two pit bulls in the room.
Right, okay, because, so exactly like that. And so his guys are all speaking Spanish to him. Everyone's walking by him, slapping him on the back, telling him, oh, man, you got this. I assume because of how they're acting, just looking at how they're doing. And then so I'm over here by myself, because my coaches are up there, cornering the other fights. So I'm standing here.
Just getting out my fight.
Yeah, and Brendan was just getting out of his fight. And so, luckily I got to walk up with Brendan, but, he didn't get to walk up with me. So I'm standing there by myself, all these Spanish talking people around me, laughing, joking around, And I don't know, a lot of you might know, but I'm a smaller individual for my weight class. Kind of skinny. So I know people always look at me like, oh, this dude's about to get killed. Look at him. And so it's funny. And I kind of thrive off that, because it's like, man, you're about to get it. But
you look like when the first round, you took something personal.
Yeah.
You came out, you was like, like you look like dad giving a kid a whip.
Right.
He was mad.
Yeah. And that's the thing, though. So I'm standing next to my opponent, and they're like, all right, you're on. They look at you. The camera's on you. You're walking out to your fight, your corner. Okay. I'm looking at my dude across the ring, and I just see, man, now's the time. Everything I've trained for, this is the moment where, everything's about to be on blast in front of everybody. All these thousands of fans watching you. You hear your opponent's name being chanted in the back. Everyone's, excited for the Cuban fighter. They want to see their home guy win. And so you meet in the middle, but the fighter was real respectful. We bow to each other. We hug. We traded gifts before our fights, each other's nation's flags and stuff like that. But then, I come out in the fight, and I'm just like, dude, I'm sorry, but this is business, and that's how you got to see it, because I'm there, kill or be killed. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
It's the martial arts,
It's not going to be
why you're there.
Right. And so, but, looking at my opponent, I had a couple inches on him, so I knew to stick to the outside and use a lot of footwork. So that's what I stuck to the whole fight, and, it worked for me. Yeah. I was able to throw jabs and heavy kicks. Anytime they planted on the front leg, I would take it out by kicking it. And I think that was the move of the fight that definitely took over. I had some good combinations that I landed, I believed, hurt him a lot. And there was a couple times where I could have finished the fight, but the ref broke it up. Obviously, Cuban ref, Cuban fight. Yeah. But, it is what it is. A fighter's never 100% satisfied with his performance, but that's why we're in the game, though, to build each other up and build ourselves up. So
I felt like that was a C+ for me.
Right. Yeah. So overall, I'm happy with the win, being able to go to a foreign country and fight, their guy in his own backyard. It was a good experience, and I believe that it's given me a new outlook for, any fights I take here in the U.S. So.
Oh, man. Well, you did one thing I noticed, Drew, that you did really good too, was you wouldn't let him have anything. It was because you came out, you attacked hard. And then what always happened, because this guy's way more experienced than you. Was he 29-1?
Yeah, they said he was 29-1 and had a black belt and something, but
Yeah, so he's way more experienced, and that's where experience wins, is you let the young guy come out fire on you. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get you later.
Real patient.
And I was worried when I'm watching it, because I seen him, he was patient. He'd been told, but I seen him looking like, he was starting to get pumped. And every time he would try to think about doing something, it was like fireworks going off. You just shoot and then disappear. Yep. And just wouldn't let him get nothing off. And that was real good.
Set, you made him reset.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. From looking at the judge in the fight, looking at the way y'all fought, it looked like everything went perfect before the fight. You know what I'm saying? Like y'all got rubbed down and got warmed up good and had good food.
I was massaging Brennan's shoulders before the fight.
I massaged my traps and shoulders, man, because I was tight. Because I wanted to let my hands go too. Yeah, because I told him, I'm like, you know what, these Cuban boxers, I'm gonna show them what's up.
Yeah, they Brennan hands down there.
I'm gonna show them what's up.
Before Brennan's fight, he told me,
I'm gonna take him.
Before Brennan's fight, he's standing there and he goes, "Man, check this out! I'm about to outbox a Cuban. Watch this." And I was like, "Man,
you did it!
I did it!"
And that's one thing I really respect about Brennan. He's got the confidence in himself, no matter where he's at. That look, this is what I bring to the table, and no matter what you bring up against me, man, I'm gonna bring this to you.
But people don't understand here. We come. Jermaine Andre comes from Ron Smith. Ron Smith came from
Crew Pat,
but also on the boxing background came from the great Hank Armstrong.
Yep.
Which was
who held titles and all of
top 5 pound for pound fighter of all time. So
we got boxing hands.
We have boxing. I believed in my hands. When we were down there, I'm like, I'm gonna beat this guy. It's just hype, just Cuban hype.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was really interesting. And we actually had a conversation one night and we talked about that. Like, man, these guys live in Cuba where like it's a national sport. They get paid to do this. This is all they know. They live in such hard areas and they have such a hard life that nothing we bring can match what they've been through. And we brought up the famous, respectable, Ramon Deckers, right. And that dude would go into Thailand, Lumpini Stadium, and just beat the crap out of Thais because he was, he believed in himself. Yeah. And so we took that mindset into our fight and, came out with the win.
And I took the old samurai. What you taught me, that one guy, he's like, because he brought that up.
Yeah,
about these Cubans, they're treated like pit bulls. I'm like, man, I'm ready to die. So
that's it.
Yep. I'm ready to die. So
yeah,
it doesn't matter how they're treated.
Yeah, well, Daryl posted. He posted from my Fighter's Bible that paragraph I put about being in servitude. As a fighter, I'm in servitude, and nothing else in the world matters but the fight.
Right.
And that's how I was when I went in and I looked at my opponent. I said, "This is bigger than Jermaine Andre. This is about the martial arts, and I'm ready to die for that. Yep. I hope you are too. Because I'm gonna send you first." So I was cool with it when you got that mentality. Like, I'm good with being dead.
Yeah.
Right. Nothing getting your way. Can't nothing psych you out. I don't care if King Kong come out. Yeah. Like you said, a fire-breathing dragon busts out of the ground. We the ones grab our samurai sword and say, "Man, either we gonna take him down or we gonna die." Either way, we good. Yeah, let's go, y'all. Where everybody else running away, you look up and we took a dragon down.
Exactly.
Either way, it's gonna be a great story too. So.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
But speaking of great stories, so in the third round, a lot of you might have seen the pictures, but like I threw a front snap kick. And man, I thought I was going to land too. I saw his chin. I was like, man, this is the moment. This is my moment right here. I threw it and the guy blocked it. And so his elbow hit between my second and third toe. And
the webbing.
Yeah, the webbing of my toes. And so the sponsors and all the other fighters were calling me Spock because my toes were so far apart like this. It was disgusting.
Wait, did you get any pictures of it?
Oh, man, I got pictures.
You got to post those. We want to see this.
I posted one on Facebook that you could kind of see the cut. It's my dad pulling my toe up with one finger when I was in the Cuban hospital. But the doctors grabbed my toes, and I'm not kidding you when I say this, but he pulled them apart so far that it looked like they could have touched, if they were to wrap around 100%, because he was just like, "Oh, yep, it looks like you split your foot." My toes are about an inch apart. It was disgusting. And so he did 5 stitches but he was a great guy, real nice. I actually got to talk to him about how medical people aren't allowed to visit the US because they'll stay there. They'll flee because doctors want to get paid less than taxi drivers. So they get paid $15, dollars a month or whatever. Taxi drivers, off tips, they'll make, 3-4 times as much as them. So, they're not respected in their field, which is crazy to me because of how well they take care of all the Cuban people. And so I get there and I get all these stitches and I get aspirin or whatever they gave me. And then she was like, "Do you want to pay with your insurance or do you want to pay with cash?" And I was like, "Great. How much is this going to cost me?" And she was like, "Oh, it's $55. And I was like, $55 for 3 shots of Novocaine, 5 stitches and, and some aspirin. I was like, "Okay, I'll pay cash, no big deal." And so to them, like that, I was like, "Oh wow, this dude's paying cash for this? That's ridiculous." But it's, to us, that here in the States, that would have cost me, $600-700. So I was real happy and, it was a great experience and a great story. So I got to meet some new people. So it was a fun time.
Yeah, right on. Great. Met some good sponsors.
We got sponsors, so we're happy.
Got food paid.
Yeah, I heard the sponsors treat y'all good.
Real well.
Real well.
They liked us a lot too.
We're going to make them keep treating you good.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Me and Brian Back going to give them a call.
Definitely.
And tell them if they want to help make y'all greater,
it
costs to build a race car.
Definitely.
Definitely. Well, anything else y'all want to add?
Yeah.
I got something I could throw out there real quick. So towards the end of the trip, we're talking about how, throughout the trip, me and Brent are talking about how, because there's no cell phone service for us, no Wi-Fi, nothing. We're talking about how, because we're disconnected, we're connected to what's around us.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And so it was real interesting. And so it's funny because we kept saying we're disconnected. That's what makes us connected. But it's because we're connected around us is what makes us, actually living in the moment. And so me and Brendan, we couldn't contact each other. So if Brendan were to walk off, guess what? I don't know where Brendan's going to be the next couple. Yeah, we got to find each other. I can't shoot him a text. Hey, where you at? Because I can't get a hold of him.
I like that part of it. That was the first thing I mentioned was like, man, like you feel like there's an energy down here.
Mm-hmm.
And like you just can't feel back in the States. And I swear it's because of these phones.
Right.
Big time. Big time.
We're not glued to what's in front of us.
I feel energy down here, man.
Yeah, well, the phone pulls you, the internet, all that stuff pulls you into another world.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's like a whole nother universe, and you enter into there. Just like, that's why I can only go on my Facebook so much, because if I go on there, it's like you read one person thing, and then you see somebody, then you respond to that, and then somebody responds to you, and then you go, and then it's forever. You gone.
Damn, like 6-7 hours of your day, you were on Facebook.
I look up in 3 hours, I've been on Facebook answering bullcrap. Didn't get no work done.
In Cuba, it's nice because you're forced to communicate with somebody that's in the same room as you. You can't just sit on your phone and ignore them. And that's acceptable here, which is, it sucks because, you're in a room where you could be, talking to somebody, learn about yourself. But, in Cuba, you have that opportunity. We're forced to talk to each other. We're forced to communicate. We're forced to see how everyone around you is doing. Yeah. And so that's why I believe they're so nice down there, because you're forced to build relationships.
Yeah, to build relationships.
And I feel like, honestly, God, they're more intelligent people.
Yeah, definitely.
Why? Because they ain't got the cell phone distracting them all day, not watching TV. Instead, they open a book.
Well, sometimes we think, as human beings, because it's further away in history and we got technology and things we created, that means we're more intelligent than people of the past. But, we still can't build pyramids.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? We still can't figure out how they did it. So how do we know we're more intelligent than they were back then?
They figured out the months of the year through the
celestial. They figured that out. We didn't figure it. Exactly. They figured that out a long time ago.
With just these two, with their eyes. So, to say that.
But that's because I think that
technology,
they were more in touch with their spiritual side back then, too. Yes. And then when we create technology helps us.
Yes.
But we end up using it as a crutch, and we let it guide us instead of using it to help us. Like I'll say that I got into it with my dad one time. My dad hates technology. Yeah. And I was texting, sitting on the couch. We all watch TV, and he's like, I hate those phones and this. I said, Dad, let me tell you this real quick. I say, the only reason I can be here with you today is because of this cell phone. I said, I just told 10 people what to do at work, through a text message. If I didn't have this, I would have had to be at work. You know what I'm saying? So you still got to appreciate technology for what it's for. But then when I'm done with that, I set it down.
I feel like cell phones, texting and calling, after that, what good is it?
It's easy to be swallowed. That's for sure.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Just texting and calling, make your text, make your call, and then that's it. Go about your day. Because I feel like you lose out on a 24-hour day.
It's true. It's even like when I was a kid, you didn't have cell phones, text, we even had black and white TV still. I had one in my bedroom. I ain't that old, but I had one and I had the color TV with the knob. I'm old enough for that. Yeah. But the way it worked, if y'all was my friends, I got up and got on my bike. And I rode 20 blocks to Drew house. I still knocked on the door. Right. Hi, Mrs. Gigax. Hi, Mr. Gigax. How y'all doing? They brought me in. So, Jermaine, how's school going? Oh, it's going good, And how's, and I got I got the 10th degree. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And then I got yelled at for looking at Drew's sister. Don't be looking at his sister. You know what I'm saying? And I said, is Drew here? No, but he'll be back in about an hour. Come back for him. Mm-hmm. And I got on my bike. I rode to Raymond crib. Yep. Raymond was in bed. I jumped on his head, choking his mom and dad. We ran upstairs. Mom had breakfast sitting there for her. We ate some breakfast. We got to go get Drew. Yep. Got on our bike, rode to see if Drew was back. He wasn't back. You know what I'm saying? So it was still so much more without that. And we worked hard. Yep. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? To have to even be friends. And then you got to know each other. Yep. And and the cell phone takes that away. Just like right now, somebody pull up to come get your daughter. She walking out the door. Where you going? On my ride here. You know what I'm saying? He don't get out the car and come walk up to the door. And that's acceptable.
You don't have to meet parents anymore. Yeah,
you don't have to.
I'm here. Come out.
Yeah, come on out. So so that's what happens when what you were feeling that is that human spiritual connection. That's you know what I'm saying?
Because I was even talking about like this is kind of tripping me out. Like the energy. Mm-hmm. It was just a whole different energy. Like
it was alive.
Yes.
But overall, talking about our trip from Cuba, we got back, and man, the La Quinta, that hotel was
talking about appreciation.
Oh, y'all loved it. Y'all was like,
we took a hot shower. But before we left, we were like, man, these TV channels suck. There's nothing good on. Man, we watched the History Channel for 2 hours. We were just happy it was in English. And that was like we were happy.
Yeah.
The beds were so comfy. People are calling us, speaking English to us. Talking, trying to get a ride anywhere is easy. We were so used to walking everywhere. We walked 1.5 miles to Wendy's when we got there. Because we were just like, man, we're so used to walking everywhere. But that would never happen here.
Yeah, you wouldn't walk anywhere here.
No.
There's a Wendy's literally on the same street as me where my apartment is, and I won't even walk to it. I'm like, I'll get in my car. But,
And then if you walk to it and somebody see you, what they going to say? Drew, is everything okay?
Something wrong with you?
Why are you walking? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but that's...
If you say everything cool and drive off, then they're going to ask your dad, is something wrong with you? Why is he walking the Wendy's?
Which that's what's funny though, is I feel more safe walking to Waka Waka a mile away in Cuba than I do walking down the same street I live on.
Yes.
I have to mean mug people walking down the street and back because you don't know in America.
That's real.
You don't know. In Cuba, everyone's asking, people are trying to speak English to me. They're like, "Hello, American," just trying to speak the same accent as us.
But we didn't even tell them. We got left. We got left by Chip and all of them at the weigh-ins on the bus, right? And we had to catch
our own taxi.
A taxi. And
four back roads.
4 back roads. We walked up and then,
decked out in USA gear.
I remember I told Drew, I'm like, we should have did it, but there was this bunch of Cuban kids playing soccer and they want us to play soccer with them. I said no because we got to find a ride back home.
You don't need to be burning up energy and you lost.
Yeah. So, but real quick though, we're decked out in USA team gear, walking down 4 back alleys to try to get to the main road. We can't catch a taxi. Nobody wants to pull over because we're in USA.
Take your USA thing off.
Yeah, Brennan took his shirt off. All these taxis are passing us. Brennan takes his shirt off. 2 taxis pull up right away. I come out the back with my dad. I'm like, let's get in real quick. So before but then we got to ride back.
Yeah. So Brennan buying fans and
getting
the cabs right on.
Brennan was the go-to man that trip for stuff. So it worked out.
Brazil experience.
Man.
There you go.
Brazil showed me the experience.
Yeah.
Overall, a couple things I can say from the trip. Truly grateful for where we're at.
Yes.
Not only as a team,
I want to kiss the grass,
but as fighters, where we come from. But also where we come from, America, there's so much to be appreciated here for. And, I definitely see that more now than I did before. So I'm happy to say it was a well worth the trip, even though not everything was, the best of the best, but it was real. And so I think that real experience, transfers over to us and, just makes us appreciative.
It empowers you.
Yeah.
It empowers you.
Yes. And not just in the ring, like in life.
Right.
That more so in life.
Yep.
Like it changed a lot. Just like Brazil did. It just added to it.
Yeah. Well, that's just like me when I went to Japan and everybody there was so nice.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the guy who worked the front desk when we checked in tonight was working the front desk in the morning. I said, does this dude even get off work? And he's tired, but he's always nice. And I was like, when we got picked up by the Yakuza down there.
Yeah.
And the head dudes, nice. You know what I'm saying? If they could be, I said, if the head of the Yakuza that could be nice to me, I can be nice all the time. What I'm saying? Yep. And it's not a bad thing for a warrior, so you learn those life lessons, so it's good. Yes. Well, I know we're running short on time. I know y'all want to put thank yous out too, and so just add in, but I definitely want to put a thank you to Brian Batten.
Definitely.
That's
Brian.
our guy. Brian's been with us, been with me for, probably going on 7 years, he's been through hard times and I've watched that man lose everything to stick with us. He's the honest dude, fair dude. He found y'all fights to make sure you get the right fight. He ain't trying to find you fights to win. Yes. And he's a fair guy, the fairest guy on the planet. And that's why you don't see him out there in the middle of everything a lot, because a lot of people don't want a fair guy helping their stuff out.
Exactly.
But definitely thank you to Brian Batten for putting this together.
Definitely.
Chip Post for going through everything he does to organize this international stuff.
Definitely.
So we can go to other countries, and Bob Sherman and Sugarfoot for coaching the team.
And Dave DeQuilo.
Oh, Dave DeQuilo.
Right
the other coach, man, real respectable.
Hey.
Right on. But just appreciate it. And then we don't even go down the sparring part of the head. We got to prepare for it. Daryl Cobb, Zach Coffey, Dave, from over American Top Team.
David Evans, American Top Team, definitely.
Danny, Louise, man, all you guys. Thank you.
Same all everybody. Too many names.
Yeah,
man. If we didn't say your name, we appreciate you still. So
definitely,
you're in our hearts.
And then definitely shout out to your grandma, Raymond.
Oh yeah, shout out to my grandma Raymond getting us on KSTK.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That's on Channel 5.
Wow, that's a blessing.
But overall, man, thanks to our families that put up with us and support us through these, fights. I know it's not easy to deal with us because we're in and out. We're not there a lot of time training. But just know that we appreciate you guys being there to support us. And without you guys and your support, we honestly couldn't do this. So,
yeah, definitely thanks to your baby's mama for putting up with you right now.
Sam,
support you.
Thank you so much.
Right on. Definitely. All right, well, that's Jermaine Andre here, Life Fight, with the champs, Brendan Raymer and Drew Gigax getting back and giving you not just a ring experience and a fight experience, but a life experience. Right. Something that hopefully, we all can learn from to help us all better ourselves. I know it better both of them. Yeah. But you're going to be seeing more of them and hearing more of them getting out there and banging because, they just getting started.
That's a bet.
Yep, they just getting started. All right. All right, so thanks, everybody.
For all things Jermaine Andre, get books, get trained. Learn the secrets behind his brawn, his brain, and his edge. Visit JermaineAndre.com. Life Fight with Jermaine Andre is another positive production of Rare Gem Productions. Thanks for listening.